That's Mr. Sting there, and an Englishman in New York. I like my toast done on one side, and be yourself no matter what they say. Now, I wonder how I can remember those lyrics. Interesting topic we're going to talk about now is memory. I certainly have very little problem remembering song lyrics going back 20, 30, even 40 years. But try remembering somebody's face, or remembering an appointment, or remembering something that happened 10 or 15 minutes ago even, increasingly can be a problem for me. Somebody who can maybe help me with this problem and talk about the whole issue of how to improve our memory is Sean Martin, who is a facilitator for memory improvement, if I can put it like that, Sean.
Yes, indeed, Adrian, you can.
Okay. I find sometimes, Sean, that as I get busier, as I pile my diary high with things to do, then I seem to be less able to remember exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, even in the next minute or two. Is that unusual?
Not unusual if you, because obviously you're almost in an overload situation.
Yes.
You've got a short-term memory.
Okay.
Everybody has, in terms of memory, you've got a short-term memory, which can be known as working memory, and a long-term memory.
Okay.
And your working memory can only hold 7 pieces of information at a time, 7 chunks of information at a time, 7 plus or minus 2.
My goodness.
So what actually happens is, in fact, this has been established for the last 100 years. It means that's how we would have learned the alphabet, in chunks. So it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. So people will remember those. But if you're interrupted when you have something in your working memory, if you're interrupted with something else, then it's lost.
Okay, it's disrupted.
It's disrupted, and it hasn't had a chance to basically go into what could be called long-term memory.
Okay. So are we talking about different parts of the brain here? Is there a specific part? Yeah.
There is a specific part of the brain that's involved in storing memory.
Okay.
And in fact, this particular part of the brain, just to be a bit scientific, is called the hippocampus.
Okay.
But it has been proven that this is the part of the brain that's, when it's used to store short-term memory. For instance, there was a guy that had serious epilepsy in the 50s, and his hippocampus was removed. A guy called HM in America.
Okay.
And he had no more ability to store any memory after that. Only the memory previous to that. So this is the part of the brain that actually stores the memory. And in fact, scientific studies have shown that London taxi cab people, drivers, actually their part of their brain grows as they use it. Because
they have to learn what they call the knowledge.
Exactly.
The streets of London.
Absolutely. And then once they're continuously using it, their brain in fact grows. So
it is possible, as if going to the gym, to use various techniques to exercise this part of the brain to help you improve.
Absolutely. In that sense, it's muscular. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yes, that is the case. And remembering is actually a skill. And once you see it as a skill, then you can learn that skill and practice it.
You know, we were talking there about modern life and how busy things are now. And I just picked up an item from the paper yesterday. I read it out at the top of the show this morning. And research is focusing now on people using the internet, and Google especially, for finding information. And the research seems to be showing that people are not retaining the information they're finding by way of Google because it's simply too easy to find, and the brain isn't having to do as much work. Would you hold any store by that?
Yes, well, that's in fact the case. It could be that the article may have said they're losing the memory. It's just that they're not using it in a remembering sort of way.
Yeah.
And the reality is the brain is very, very intelligent. It's more intelligent than ourselves, as it were, because of all the information you take in, all the sensory information, it has to decide what's relevant and what isn't. So as you look around your studio there, you only need to take in what's relevant for you to do your job. If you took in everything else, you'd be overload immediately.
That's right.
So subconsciously, your brain just drops all that.
Yeah.
So the brain is very adaptive. So if the information is available on the internet, then there's no need to try and remember it because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, I've had a lot of people helping me this week with the radio show, particularly Roy in front of me here. And I did have a go earlier on during the show at pressing one button and adding another task to my daily list of chores. Is there any way I can expand on that 7 items that I can remember, or is it just a physiological impossibility that I can do more than I need to do?
At this moment in time, shall we say, for that short-term memory, it does appear through all neuroscientific research that appears to be fixed.
Okay.
But having said that, that's only for what research has found to date.
Right.
The thing about it is nobody really knows how the brain works. There's just certain information available and certain theories. So in that sense, the only thing that can be said is that with the amount of stimulus we have today with all the different technologies and all the rest, the brain is adaptive, so it's obviously bound to expand to cater for that, so that it will adapt over time. And I suspect the theories haven't evolved to actually explain what's happening. So we're really at a cutting edge in terms of, it's less than 20 years ago that the internet became available. Mobile phones weren't really available, so we're really in uncharted territory.
How did you become interested in all of this, Sean?
I became interested in all of this purely because I happened to be, shall we say, blessed or talented with a good skill for remembering stuff that I was interested in, like history and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was a personal challenge to try and remember all this stuff. And then I got into the business of consulting and recruitment and interviewing and training people. And I had a natural ability to remember names with faces.
Okay, well listen, sorry to cut across you there. We're a little bit short for time, but I do want to get, Sean, to some tips and techniques that we can give people. So you mentioned their faces and names. What's the best way to put the two together?
Is visualization.
Okay.
A picture is worth 1,000 words. So once you see the face, you've got to link it with some other visualization. It's terrible to use a topical one that was controversial in the Dáil last week, and no disrespect to the female community, but you remember the Piggygate incident?
Miss Piggy, yes, I do.
Yes, so people will always remember poor old Mary Mitchell O'Connor with that association, because for those who are familiar with Miss Piggy and the Muppets. Okay. So you just match an image.
The image has been created.
The image has been created and probably will not be forgotten.
Okay.
So you visualise a picture, you match a picture with the word or the person you want to remember. Right. So if the name Jack is, think of Jack and the Beanstalks, and you can match that with the face. Okay. So every time you see that, that image will reappear.
Now, another problem I have in my daily modern busy life is this whole business of passwords and usernames and all that kind of stuff. I've had to now open a little black book to keep all my internet passwords for various accounts and all the rest of it and all that kind of thing. It's just becoming impossible. Every time you go on somewhere, you have to log on, you have a username. How do we manage that stuff?
Well, that comes from a fundamental belief, Adrian, that you won't be able to remember it.
Yes.
So therefore you've decided you won't, so you're going to use writing as an aid. Yes. But I bet you the challenge is if we were to call out 6 numbers, or the 5 numbers tonight for tonight's Euro Millions, plus the 2 winning stars, I guarantee you a hell of a lot of people would remember them. Yeah. Because they'd be interested and feel that they needed to. Okay. So wouldn't that be something? Yeah. There is an element of what you're interested in. Okay. And how important it is to you. Okay. But just to wrap up anyway, Sean, visualisation is a huge part of this. Absolutely. Create a picture. Create a picture. And then associate it with something that's already known. Yeah. And then there you go. And then you'll just remember what's known, and that is anchored to that. So even for your passwords, you could actually generate passwords that you think that'll be personal to you, that nobody else would know, and then link that to an image and just try it, and it's almost guaranteed that will actually always come back to you. I suppose the problem, just very quickly, is that we're now being told to use different passwords. So well, it just means you have to keep changing the image. Oh my goodness. Okay, listen, Sean, it's brilliant to talk to you. A very, very interesting topic, I have to say, and I'm sorry we didn't have more time, but it's really, really interesting. And that's Sean. Thank you, Sean. No problem, Adrian. Thanks for having me on. That's Sean Martin, a facilitator in improving your memory.